Hey now, Brawlers, it's time for another Board Game Brawl review with Nick Minahan, sponsored by BoardGameBliss.com.
Hey peeps, today we're going to take a look at Mechs vs. Minions from Riot Games. I'm sorry, I'm contractually obligated by the Board Game Reviewers Union to lift up a box on camera. It is very, very heavy. Now, this is a game that is based on League of Legends, which is a big MOBA, massive online battle arena game that I have never played. I heard that it's a very good game, and I've also heard by those same people who said it's a good game to never ever play it, because the community is so toxic. But that's okay. I was never in danger of playing it anyways. But Riot Games, nevertheless, has a very good reputation as being a company that gives its fans what they want. And apparently, they're also tabletop gamers as well. And you can tell that Mechs vs. Minions is a vanity project for them, for reasons we'll go into in my final thoughts, because there is a ton of content in this game, and it is a very unique, highly produced game at that. We'll get into more details about that later. But in any case, what this is, it is a programmed action game. But it is a fully cooperative one, unlike many other programmed action games I have played in the past. You are taking control of these things called Yordles, which I don't know what they are, like little chibi things that come in different races, though. I don't understand. But these Yordles are riding around on mechs, and you are going through different missions or operations trying to just meet your goals. Whatever they are, they change from operation to operation. And in fact, I don't want to say it's like a legacy thing, but it's definitely a campaign thing, because you're unlocking different operations as you go through them, and then different rules, different cards get added to the game, and a lot of other crazy stuff as well. So the game actually progresses to a degree. I guess to say any more would just be kind of pointless at this point. Let me just show you as much as I can about the game. I played, by the way, just to let you know, because I guess it can be spoilery, if you really want to consider it that. I have played through 4 of the operations. I am only going to go through enough details to get you through the first one, which will give you a pretty good idea of how to play the game, and I'll avoid talking about anything else from there on out. So, and a lot of things I don't know that are past the 4th mission or operation. I keep reading, it's either mission or operation. But no need to fear if you really don't want to be spoiled on what's in the further envelopes, because I only know a few of them, and I don't know all of them. So, in any case, let's take a look. Then we're going to come back. I'll let you know what I think.
Mechs vs. Minions is a cooperative game for up to 4 players. Players take control of mech-riding characters fighting back against hordes of minions to accomplish their goal. The goal changes depending on which operation you're playing through. After a brief tutorial, you'll go through each operation one by one, ripping open the envelope for the first time and having not only goals, but new rules introduced as well. Let's take a moment to actually look inside the box at the various inserts, which give an immediate idea of the scope and quality of the components. Every layer has a specific place for a specific piece, which will make getting expansions very interesting in the future. All the components are of exceedingly high quality, and none of them are generic pieces that are ordered from a gaming supply distributor. It should also be noted that there is one ominous box you are not allowed to open until a scenario tells you to, and I won't ruin the surprise for what's in it, although you can probably guess. Every player chooses a character, which of course includes a high quality miniature as well, but you also get a command line board where you will be issuing the commands for your mech. As you progress through operations, you'll get schematics cards, of which you may choose 2 before the mission starts, assuming you have that many available, but they're not usable right off the bat. More on that later. Your primary opponents in the game are swarms of minions with different sculpts, though they're all treated the same. Laid out here is the setup for the first operation. The most important part of setup are the large double-sided boards, which have special features like spawn points, repair pads, lava pools, boulders, and oil slicks. There are also several different features that can be added, like crystals and even a giant bomb. In this scenario, the goal is to drag the bomb to the repair pad before it explodes. Also note the crystal compass, which is always oriented with red at the top. This is important for certain mission parameters, with the colors of the compass being linked to the colored runes on the board and the faces of the included 12-sided die. The best way to explain the game is to just go through the standard operation phases of a round one by one. Note that these are all subject to change depending on the operation. The first phase of a round is the player phase, where you will execute commands to your mechs. First, you have to draft command cards. Shuffle the deck and deal out 5 cards face up. Then, in turn order, each player takes one of the cards. 4 of the 5 cards should be drafted, and the 5th should get discarded. You'll do a double draft in the first round, but then just 1 draft from there on out. If you're playing with fewer than the maximum number of players, it is possible that each player is going to get more than 1 card. You will eventually have to use the 40-second sand timer during the draft, which gets flipped right after the cards are dealt out. Once you have your command cards, they have to be placed onto your command line. You can play them in any empty slot or stack them on top of cards that are already there and which share one of the 4 elements: fire, electric, metal, and computery. In other words, fire elemental cards need to be stacked on top of fire elemental cards. Up to 3 cards of the same element can be stacked in the same space, and only the top one is actually usable. The more cards in the stack, the more powerful the effect. You'll be able to move more spaces, turn more dramatically, and target more enemies with your attacks. Once every player is locked in their command line, the cards must be executed in order from left to right, starting with the first player. Command cards allow your mechs to mobilize on the battlefield. They will let you move, turn, and attack. They are activated from left to right in order, and you must execute every order. Each card works differently, and their power and range differ depending on how many cards of the same element are stacked in the same space. Missions will have an effect on what you can and can't do as well. For instance, in this mission, you can tow the bomb behind your mech, and in fact, you need to tow it to the repair pad to win. Alternatively, when you draft cards, you may choose to use your drafted cards for repairing or reprogramming. Whenever the player's mechs are damaged in the game, they'll have to draw a damage card. Some cards are glitches that take effect immediately, like moving around cards in your slots, while other cards are slot damage, which randomly goes on top of one of your command line slots and covers up the existing command in that slot. Now, you must do this new damage command whether you like it or not when it comes up. By drafting a metal or fire card and then scrapping it, however, which is to say discarding it, you can remove a damage card from one of your slots. By drafting an electric or computery card, you can swap the cards in 2 of your slots. When you destroy minions with commands, they get placed on your gear tracker board at the top. When the 5th minion is killed, they're all removed and the team gears track goes up by 1. This track serves 2 purposes. First, when enough spaces have been moved, players will be able to flip over their schematics cards and use them. Second, when space 15 is reached, players can activate their overdrive ability on the bottom of their command line board. Underneath that track is the Doom track, which signifies different things depending on the mission. For instance, in this mission, the gear piece is placed on the 5th spot and signifies the bomb's hit points. If it drops to 0, the bomb detonates and it's game over. Once every player has completed executing their cards, you move on to the minion phase. Minions are small creatures that only need to be hit once to be destroyed, but they spawn in large, dangerous groups. In this phase, the first thing you do is move all of the existing minions. Each mission has different rules for how far and in what direction they move. In this case, they want to get to that bomb and destroy it. After activating them all, then you spawn new ones. This will again be different in each scenario, but here you'll place new minions on every spawn point. Finally, the minions attack. Every adjacent enemy to the players or any other targets automatically deals a damage to them. For players, that involves taking a damage card for each hit. After that, if the game isn't over, you'll go back to the beginning and draft cards again. Keep going until you either succeed or fail at the mission's goals. When you succeed at a mission, you can move on to the next one. Well, let me first say that I typically don't like programmed action games. Very few of them I have. I can't even really summon one to mind at the moment. The one that I can summon to mind that I hate is Robo Rally, and a lot of people were warning me ahead of time that this was going to be similar to Robo Rally, and I have said that I don't like it before, so I should probably avoid this game. But I really enjoyed this game. We'll break it down into details chunk by chunk, but I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that it is a purely cooperative game, and the whole system of unlocking things as you go is done very, very well. But let's start with the most obvious thing about the game that you kind of have to talk about first, and that is the production value of it. Now, I don't often like to talk about the price of a game, because, I mean, a lot of times it's just so overwhelmingly
there and an issue that you have to talk about it. Well, like with Kingdom Death Monster, for instance. But for the most part, board games run between a certain range of prices, and I have to talk about the quality of the game itself. That's what I'm reviewing, right? But it does have to be noted here that I'm not sure what the availability of the game is right now. It's been out for a few weeks or a month now. But it was $75 on this website eventually, with like a pittance you had to pay for shipping, like $10. And for that price, there is so much content here. And it is so high quality. As I mentioned in the overview, nothing here is generic. Nothing. Not the inserts, not the miniatures, not the crystals, not the coins for the rune coins, the dice. Nothing is like, call Litco and place an order for 1,000 generic crystals. Nothing like that. And I really appreciate that. And the thing about it is, there is no way that Riot Games is making money on this. I mean, maybe, but I seriously doubt it. This is clearly a vanity project for them, or something they just wanted to do for their fans and share with their fans. And again, I have no attachment to that company or League of Legends, but I really appreciate that. I appreciate that care that is taken with the game, because I see the exact opposite of that so much, especially with, this wasn't a Kickstarter game, but especially with Kickstarter games, which seem to be becoming ever more prevalent lately, that a game has had something to do with Kickstarter. I just see a complete lack of care and foresight and attention to detail. This is the exact opposite. And I guess that's what you can do if you don't need to use a crowdfunding platform because your company is a multi-million-dollar company. So I realize that they have way more advantages than other companies, but it still needs to be noted when someone takes this much time and care and doesn't care about their bottom line that much. And everything about it is beautiful. I love the sculpts. I love especially the mass painting job for the Yordles themselves is great. I mean, it's really great. The coins and even the crystals are everything's just very, very nice. The boards look great. The spot UV coating on them. I mean, I love the artwork style for the command cards and the bits in the books, what little artwork there is on the schematic cards and things. It's all great. The whole graphic design is great too. So I cannot think of any complaints, any major complaints about any of the components here. Now let's go into the whole aspect of the sort of half-assed legacy aspect of the game. I don't mean to sound negative about it, but basically you go through the different envelopes of the different missions or operations, and you get new rules as you go, and really what it is a very elaborate tutorial system, at least for most of it, and then you start running into like crazy stuff as you unlock more and more. And I really like it. First off, I like it whenever a game goes out of its way to make learning the game very easy and does it in a creative way. The first time I saw this and took note of it was in Crossmaster Arena, which had like a cool like little mini tutorials in the rule booklet that you and your opponent would use before leading up to the final base game. And that's basically what happens here. It's just that you have a really couple of really simple tutorial scenarios, which I highly recommend going through, and then you move on to your first mission. And that's not that difficult. And then you go on to the next one. A little bit more is added in. And so on until by the fourth scenario it gets crazy. But by that point, you know the game in and out. And it's not that complicated a game. So I really appreciate how they did that. And yes, it's not like a legacy game where you're adding new stuff and nothing gets changed permanently. But I do like that you're adding on to the game and you feel a progression, like your journey through the game is altering as time goes on, as slight as it may seem in the grand scheme of things. But I really appreciate that. And again, I haven't played through anywhere near all of them, so I'm really looking forward to going through more and more of it. I could also talk about just the general theme of the game, which works very well. Again, I have no attachment to these characters. I don't know what they are, really, and I don't really care to know. But within the game, there's a good sense of humor. I liked reading the little bits in front of each mission from the commander of the Yordles talking to the rest of them, and they're giving him a hard time and busting his balls about all the stupid shit that he's doing. I had a lot of fun with that. I don't think my players did. but I really appreciated that. So I think the theme is also strong with this one. Now, with the gameplay, I mentioned that I typically don't like these types of games with the program your cards and watch the chaos unfold. I hate Robo Rally. I cannot express that enough. Okay, I know they're coming out with a new edition of that. I'm sure it's also terrible. If you love Robo Rally, I'm sorry, that's how I feel. This game works much better. First off, I think this may not even be true, but I feel as if you have more control in this game, especially with how you can stack the cards. If you take damage, you may choose to draft the cards to repair that or to reprogram by moving cards around. So it feels like you have way more control over your destiny, so to speak, in this game. And on top of that, it's fully cooperative. That, I think, is the key point here. If this was every man for himself, try to get some points or whatever, and maybe one of the future scenarios does that, I don't know. But I think it would be much worse because it would go into that chaotic nonsense eventually. But working all together, planning things out, adds a whole other layer to the game. You feel like you're in it together, you're suffering together. Everything I tried to do just went completely haywire because I kept getting hit by the minions. But my partners are going to help me pick up the slack and help me out here. And it's like the whole negotiation sort of part where it's like, okay, I really want that flame card, but it's going to help you out more right now. I got to repair myself, so which one of these do you guys not want? Because I'm going to scrap that one. And you're doing this while a timer is going once you get past the tutorial. That is a great part of the game. And again, that would only happen if you're doing it cooperatively. So I really appreciate that aspect of it, and I think that really changes the whole tone of it for me in a positive way with the pre-programming that I typically don't like. I love the aspect of how you move on the gear track, unlocking your ability to use the schematics and unlocking your overdrive ability. That feels like something, again, you're working towards throughout the game, and it's a cool thing to see it progress. The different scenarios and goals all feel varied from what I've played. And the theme comes across very well as you're trying to go through. And I like how the different missions escalate as well, so that they don't feel the same from beginning to end. That is a huge part of this, is that I feel that this game has a ton of variety. And again, just what I played. I can't fathom how much variety there's going to be. I could be playing this game a ton. And then you just go back and redo some of them. And then it feels... I just can't imagine getting bored with this game anytime soon. And so that counts for a lot. Even if with all the games that I have to play, it's great that I've found a game that so many people I've played it with have enjoyed, and I know that I can play it again and again and again. It's not going to be something that people are going to get tired of, especially since it's so exciting. It's a very frenetic, interactive game, much more so than a lot of other games that I've played. So, this game had a lot of hype. I was not totally buying into it, so I'm like, well, I'm going to hold off on my judgment and play it for myself and see what it is. And I don't know that every bit of hype that it's earned is justified. I don't think it's one of the best games I've ever played because it's certainly not, there is a lot of randomness to it. It's not totally deep as far as the strategy goes, but there is strategy and decision making there, especially with how you stack your cards and what abilities you decide to go with and how they're placed and all of that. But again, that's the programming part. I don't know if you'd call that strategy per se. So for that, I think I would knock it down just in my esteem of like all the sum total of my games. But it's undeniable that it's a beautiful game that is fun to play. It's easy to teach and easy to learn, especially if you go through the tutorials. And we've just had a ton of fun with it. And the variety is amazing, and the cooperative aspects are great. So yeah, I guess I am buying into the hype just at least a little bit. That is Mechs vs. Minions from Riot Games. I highly recommend it, especially at as expensive as it is, and that's going to turn off some people. If you do have the money for it, well worth it.
Thanks for watching. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Patreon. And make sure to check out our sponsor, Board Game Bliss, where you can find an amazing selection of games from around the world. BoardGameBliss.com. Thanks for your support.